Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Girl Gone Crypto. I am super stoked. I've got a really exciting guest here today. I've got Paul Puey, the CEO and co-founder of Edge Wallet. So Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Leah, thanks for having me. Appreciate the time.
So Edge is not only one of my favorite wallets in the space, but really one of my favorite projects as well. I love the work that you guys are doing with really helping to improve the on-ramp process for people into crypto. And I even have my Edge t-shirt on today. I don't know if you guys can see that. But maybe to start out, I know, right? It's a great shirt. I love you guys' logo. But I thought it'd be really fun just because you've been in the crypto space for a long time, and obviously Edge has, is a great project within the space. So maybe tell us a little bit about your your journey into the space and how that started, and what made you decide that you wanted to start Edge.
Got it. So I started with a technical background. Went to school in software and hardware engineering, and worked in Silicon Valley for almost 10 years. At the time with NVIDIA, before the days when they were known as a mining hardware company, when it was actually pure graphics and games and 3D modeling. But then I actually left tech for over 10 years and went into small business, where instead of being the person that builds this technology, I was the person behind and actually using technology. And that's where I got to appreciate definitely user experience and making things simple for the layman and the staff that I had to train at very small businesses, anything from, a climbing gym to nightclub, bars, restaurants, and whatnot. All businesses now have to use tech in some way, shape, and form. And then you start to appreciate and also lash back out at tech that was really hard to use. You appreciate the good stuff, and you really lash out at, like, God, this is really more tedious than it needed to be. But during that time in small business, I also started to really look into and understand payment systems, dealing with Visa, MasterCard, PCI compliance. I also worked in the not healthcare industry, but the health industry with gyms and fitness. And I started to understand a lot of, I don't want to go down to like a huge soapbox, stand on a big soapbox here, but start to understand where large corporations and institutions and entities really mislead the general public on what are the truths of our world, from what we should eat and how we should keep ourselves in shape and basically bring wellness to ourselves, down to the financial system in dealing with, once again, payment systems through a lot of small businesses. And it was in the middle of that I actually discovered Bitcoin. And that was in 2013. And I said, oh my God, this is something that interconnects all of the values that I've kind of built up, everything from the interest in tech to the potential disruption of payment systems, the potential, not I call it elimination of cash, but great alternative to cash that doesn't effectively cost as much to the small business owner, which I was, as credit cards would cost us. So all that aligned almost too perfectly. And in 2013, I went full deep dive. I wasn't one of those people that read the white paper and put it down for a couple of years. I read that, I listened to as many podcasts as I could. Back in 2013, there was basically 2 podcasts. One of them continued, and the only other one, which was Let's Talk Bitcoin with Andreas Antonopoulos, was pretty much the only thing. And it had, I think, 1 to 2 episodes a week. And I remember waiting for the next episode going, I want to learn more. And after having understood and learned what it was, how to transact with it, and using it myself, that's when I realized, gosh, this industry is young and there's many things to improve on. And that's when I decided, let's try to build on this and try to make a name for myself and our co-founders and what we build for this next revolution, like to get into the history books and say, hey, we contributed to this new technology that everyone will be using in decades to come. So I co-founded the company in early 2014 and haven't looked back since.
I love that, especially the story of being one of the first podcast listeners of a crypto podcast ever. That's pretty amazing.
When there was no selection of podcasts, when I had to wait, I remember it was, I think, a Tuesday and Sundays that they would put an episode, and they'd skip some. And so, I'd finish Tuesday and wait. Oh, I had to wait Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for the next episode. Whereas now it's like you can't absorb all the content out there. So it's definitely a different time. And so I appreciate those that took I was an early podcast listener, but hats off to the people that were just simply early podcasters and helped the community learn and understand this tech.
And really, there's no better place better person than Andreas Antonopoulos to be learning about Bitcoin from.
Yep. I mean, a
So
lot of people don't know these still on that podcast with Let's Talk Bitcoin. There's so many more now that it's kind of gone into the shadows, but it's still a great podcast that I recommend to people.
I will link to that below for people who want to check it out after this. We'll put that here in the show notes below the video as well. So to talk about Edge Wallet, I use Edge Wallet and I love it. But just on a high level overview, can you just tell us what really differentiates Edge from other kind of wallets that are in that same arena?
Yeah, so the differentiator for Edge is pretty much twofold. The history of the company is that it was actually co-founded as Airbits. So that was the name of the original product and the original app. And its goal was to build just kind of the better Bitcoin wallet. But the differentiator of Airbits was key management. And you'll notice both Airbits and Edge, while users fully control their funds, they control their private keys. That's a very, very strong value that we propose in the product. Users don't ever have to see the private key. They never have to write anything down. They don't have to save a file. They just simply create an account and log in. And they can conveniently re-log in with PIN, with biometric. They can switch phones and just download the app and log in onto a new phone, and their keys are there available for them to send and receive money. That was the foundation of Airbits, was basically our security model. And during the lifetime of Airbits, we started tagging that security model. We kind of gave that security model a tagline. We called it Edge Security. The concept was that it secured data at the edges of the network, not on the central servers, but at the edges of the network, where you encrypt the data on your device and only you can see that data. And that was specifically, obviously, private keys and any transaction metadata that you might tag a transaction with. And the transition into Edge came about where, number one, it was kind of just a rebrand that we wanted to do for a while. And the term Edge Security kind of struck a good chord with us. We liked the ring of it. A lot of people liked it as well. So we also rewrote the app mainly to also focus on other cryptocurrencies, not just Bitcoin. And that required a pretty significant rewrite from scratch, to the point where we had to launch a separate app than Airbits.
Oh, wow.
We didn't want the functionality that people were used to in Airbits to basically some functionality to disappear, and Edge couldn't incorporate the full functionality of Airbits right off day one. So in Edge, we were able to right off day one support multiple different cryptos, tokens, and whatnot, but still use that same security model that was baked into Airbits. Right, that Edge security model, simple account creation, but encrypt your keys, only you can see it, easily two-factor it. But then the goal of the app now changed. The app was no longer focused around payments, which is what Airbits was about, right? The merchant, peer-to-peer payments, even had Bluetooth and NFC. Goal of Edge was now, let's look at what people are doing with crypto and the challenges they have. And number one, what they're doing is simply they're wanting to on-ramp, right? They want to buy it, sometimes sell it, frequently trade it between different crypto assets. And they're doing it entirely through centralized exchanges, which they always had this like, yeah, I got to use them. I got to use centralized exchanges, but I don't want to. So we wanted to build the alternative for retail investors where they can buy, sell, and trade, but not give up control of their funds. And so that comes into the second fold of what differentiates Edge from others. So number one is key management. You don't have to see your key, but you fully control it. And then number two is you have very, very rich support to buy, sell, and trade. 16 different exchange partners are baked into the app to on and off ramp from fiat all across the world, and almost half a dozen different payment mechanisms. We have a new one coming online next week, depending on when this show goes live next week, relative to when we're recording it. But that's kind of the goal. Let's get the retail investors off the centralized exchanges, unless they're the frequent high frequency traders. Other than them, let's get everyone off and owning and controlling their keys.
I think the key management piece of what you just talked about is so huge, because we live in this kind of culture where people are so used to being able to click forgot password and they don't have to worry about it. And in crypto, that's a huge potential concern for someone that maybe doesn't know how to properly store their private keys, doesn't make backups, things happen. And so the fact that you guys are making that on-ramp just so much more user-friendly, to where it almost feels like something that they're already used to, but actually has the security on the back end, is really very cool. And one of the other things I wanted to chat with you about was kind of that on-ramp from the crypto to fiat, because you just mentioned that a little bit. So how does that work? You said that you've got all these different partners around the world. Tell us more a little bit about the fiat to crypto on-ramp process in Edge.
Got it. So if you think about what a lot of cryptocurrency enthusiasts and influencers will recommend to a user that wants to get into crypto. They'll say, all right, go ahead and download this wallet or buy a hardware wallet. You back up your private key. Now go to the centralized exchange, create an account there, and now deposit some money with that centralized exchange, maybe via a bank transfer with credit card or whatnot. And then once that money settles in that centralized exchange, go and do a trade the dollars for Bitcoin, and then withdraw your money. They always say, make sure you withdraw your money. You got to get your money out, get it into your wallet where you control the keys. Mm-hmm. Effectively, what Edge does is it ties all of that together into one product, into one interface. So in Edge, you create your account in Edge, which is an encrypted account that encrypts and backs up your keys. And then you specify where you're located. You say, hey, I'm in the US or Canada, Europe, some country in Europe. And then it will show a list of different payment options to be able to either buy or sell crypto. And those different payment options will go through different partners that we've already partnered with inside of the app. So if you wanted to use credit card in some regions, it'll go through a partner such as either Simplex or another partner like MoonPay. If you want to do a bank transfer, that might go through Biddy in Europe or through Wire here in the US. Apple Pay through another partner. We have payment methods in Australia that are native to Australia and other parts of the world. Those will effectively go through various other partners. But you'll do all of that all within Edge. And what's happening is, even though you might be using a different partner, the process of depositing money into an exchange and then withdrawing your Bitcoin is automatic. Meaning that you're never actually leaving Bitcoin or crypto with the exchange. As soon as you request a purchase, funds, like say fiat, goes to the exchange partner, but then they automatically send out the Bitcoin or crypto right into Edge. So while it might take some time, sometimes it's quick, 5-10 minutes. Sometimes it takes a while, a day, 2-3 days. But no matter what, once that purchase happens, that trade happens, the crypto always ends up in your keys that you have full control over inside of Edge. And it takes those few extra steps out of the friction, takes that friction out from the user of having to do multiple steps with multiple different applications, copying and pasting a public address. As a matter of fact, even the login is seamless. You've created an account in Edge. It's an encrypted account that holds encrypted private keys. It also acts like a password manager. When you create an account with one of our partners inside of Edge, you never have to create a password. It actually creates a key that's used to log you in every time you enter that partner inside of our app. So you'll notice that it feels much more seamless to be flowing through an exchange partner in Edge. The branding might change. You might actually see our partner's logo and branding there, but you're not having to log in to them. You're just simply connecting and you're automatically logged in. So it's definitely a lot of tech that's put together to enable us to partner with a lot of companies in the space, but it's designed to be much more seamless to the end user.
And it seems like that is really like a lot safer for the end user as well, to never have their funds sitting on a centralized exchange. Because one thing that, even though, a lot of people that are coming into the space, maybe someone tells them, hey, make sure you take your money off the exchange. How many of them actually do, right? Like, right, even my brother was the other day was telling me, he's like, what? I can't just leave my money on Bittrex? I was like, no.
Oh,
and so that's amazing that it's like not having to go through all those steps, but having the just initial experience be that seamless and keeping their funds safer overall. So one of the things that is my favorite thing about Edge that I think is really cool is how you guys have partnered with some really great exchanges like Changelly and Shapeshift and Change Now, and you guys find the best deal for that person. And so if I was going to, buy some Ethereum with my Bitcoin, instead of me poking around trying to find what's the best rate, you guys do that work for the end user. So maybe tell us a little bit about that process and why you wanted to build that functionality into Edge.
Got it. So I'll separate a little bit about our exchange partners into two different buckets to help clarify things for users. So there's the fiat on and off ramp partners, and those obviously may go through some KYC. They're very regionally specific, payment method specific, and we don't do any price hunting across them per se, because there's many different variables that might make a user use one versus another, primarily where you live and the payment method you want to use. But when it comes to crypto, here we're able to do a lot. And Edge does this entirely from your phone. It actually goes and when you want to do a swap from one crypto to another, you just simply specify what crypto you want to go from by specifying the wallet in your app that you want to go from, and then what crypto you want to go to. And then it actually goes and puts out order requests across all of our crypto to crypto exchange partners and finds the one that has the best price. And that might seem like the end goal, find the best price, find the best price. But actually, we put it together for actually a bigger reason than that. We put it together for the sake of reliability. So we found that, and this is no knock on our exchange partners. This is just simply a fair issue that, many will run into, is that there's times where you're trying to do a swap and an exchange partner even supports the pair you want to do, but they just might be out of inventory, out of liquidity. You simply can't do that swap. But if you had more than one exchange partner, it could fall over to a different one that supports that currency pair. So what I found was that a lot of these exchange partners, while maybe the top 10 currencies they supported pretty well, once you veered off that, you might have very kind of differing support of currencies across the different crypto to crypto exchanges, and then very much differing availability across the different assets. That was actually one of the biggest reasons we incorporated. So let's have a great experience where the user just says what they want to swap from, what they want to swap to, and if it's remotely possible, we can service it. That was the biggest reason. But then we realized, well, frequently multiple partners can service it. So who do we choose? Obviously, then the best price. We want to give the user the best price. So it's multifold. It's reliability as well as finding the best price. And it ends up being a great experience to the point where now if I don't have that, like for whatever reason, say it's an asset that Edge doesn't support, or it's one that our partners don't support, and I have to go outside of our ecosystem, it becomes really, really tedious. The process of having to, first of all, copy and paste your address with a website. And then also, oh gosh, they're out today. I'll go check back tomorrow. I remember one of the biggest requests we had when we only had one partner was, hey, they frequently are out of availability of a certain asset. Can you give me like a notification when they come back online and actually have availability? I was like, yeah, we could, but wouldn't it be better if it just worked? And we found someone that had the availability. Now we never get that request. No one's asking us, oh, can you let us know when no liquidity is back? So I hope that answers the question. It's really, it's a reliability thing. And in a way, best price is just kind of an added benefit.
No, that's awesome. And, one of the things that I think is really cool is all of the great partners and the support of different assets that you do have on the platform, like the list of coins that are, available, the list of crypto to crypto exchange partners that are on there is really good. So I guess my question is, how do you decide who to partner with and what assets to support? So I know it's kind of two questions, but on the crypto to crypto exchange side, like Shapeshift and Change Now, like what are you looking for in those partners? And is the kind of long-term plan that you eventually want to have as many partners on there as possible, or are you really selective with that? And then on more of the coin and the asset support side, like how do you decide which assets to include in Edge as well?
God, two big questions that never have an exact answer. So answer the first question with the exchange partners, some aspect of support for unique assets that cross over with what we support. So one of the earlier assets that we support that wasn't well supported by exchange partners was Monero, just taking as an example. And so we wanted to bring on partners that supported that so that our users would actually be able to use and trade to trade a currency like Monero. And so when we were looking for other partners, that became an important factor to look for. Now with exchange partners, because we have quite a few, we've got 8 right now for crypto to crypto exchange partners. We're looking for those that can obviously give a pretty competitive price and have good reliability. So we test them ahead of time ourselves before we integrate them into Edge, make sure that a good percentage of the swaps go through without a hiccup, and that they adhere to the price that they quote. The two main things, if there's any potential exchange partners out there listening to this episode, two big things that we notice really help drive volume to that partner is obviously first, best price, and then also having high limits. That tends to help a lot. So people don't want to break up their transactions into small transactions or do one every few weeks and whatnot. If you can service a fairly high limit transaction, that helps a lot because a lot of the volume is really driven by the few large orders. You have a bunch of small ones and a few large ones. And those few large ones go to the exchange providers that can do those higher limits. And especially, and this is a big one, is partners that can do it at a fixed rate. So just generally, a lot of people don't like variability. Like, hey, I'm going to buy some Ethereum using Bitcoin, and you give me a quote. Well, whether or not that quote is a fixed rate quote or a variable rate quote, we track, and we prefer a fixed rate quote. All right. So only if there's no fixed rate quote available does a user get a quote that's variable, which means that it could change by the time you receive the currency. So fixed rate quotes are hard. They're not easy to do. They require risk on the side of the exchange provider, but those that can provide fixed rate at a good price and high limits are going to do generally well and provide a good service to our user base. So things like that, as well as the reliability. We don't want gigantic delays all the time for people to receive money, and we don't want people having any issues. So that hopefully summarizes some of the things we're looking for. We're not trying to incorporate every crypto to crypto swap exchange on the market. If anything, we want to get stricter and stricter and stricter and get the best ones that have good reliability, good rates, and actually pare it down to probably maybe even fewer than what we have already today. Wow. But so far we've been happy with our partners, and hopefully continue to do so. And you had the second question, which was how we select
like which coins and which assets to kind of support and include in Edge.
Yeah, this is easily the grayest area of how we select. This is definitely a tough one because there's so many angles that determine an asset support. Probably number one is the market. Like, what is the market demanding? And just a good old-fashioned market cap is one metric to that. Well, it's not the only metric. There's market cap, and then there's simply consumer demand. What are people pinging us about? What are they asking for? What are they telling us on Twitter? What are they telling us in the show notes comments of this episode? Yes. Right? So, what they're saying matters a lot. But at the same time, different assets have a different difficulty level on getting it integrated. So anything from what kind of backend APIs and full nodes need to be run in order to support that currency. How much client-side code inside of our application do we have to implement to get the currency supported? Who's available to do it? Is our team? Do we have any expertise in that currency or that architecture? Does the a foundation for a coin have resources that they could put into it? And it's the balance of all of that, as well as do we have exchange partners that are going to support the coin? At this point, the definition of our app is a self-custody exchange. And so we would be very, 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 very hesitant to incorporate an asset unless one of our exchange partners supported it too. Much like it would be weird to go to a Bittrex and see that they support some coin, but you can't trade it.
Right.
That would be a little odd. And that's the same thing with us, is that, people come to us because they want to be able to buy, sell, and trade, but hold their own keys. So we want to support assets where that they can do exactly that, buy, sell, and trade. So it's a mix of all of that, resource constraints. Who wants to put in the resources to put in the engineering necessary, as well as the difficulty involved, the market demand, exchange support, all of those kind of factor in. And then we try to make some decisions and hope for the best. It's like sometimes we sink in a lot of time and energy and that didn't really do so well. But other times it does really well. So you can only take our best guess.
So while we're still kind of in the realm of talking about crypto to crypto exchanges, what does the KYC process look like through Edge? And does it just really vary on which exchange partner is selected, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so on the crypto to crypto exchange, it falls under, I want to call it 4 buckets of KYC types. And by default, it's just going to pick the best price and, the KYC you deal with if you need to deal with it. At the worst case, I won't call this worse, and no offense to this partner, but many people don't want to actually create an account with a specific exchange partner. Right. So they frequently will have to with any of our fiat on and off ramps. You got to give some KYC information. But one partner, Shapeshift, does require that you create an account. So in order for them to be selected for best price, you'd have to actually activate an account with Shapeshift, either one you've created before, or you can actually activate one inside of the app. So that's kind of at the highest, highest friction level. Second to that is spot check KYC, where you may do some transactions and our partners might deem that, hey, these addresses and the volumes and, based on blockchain analytics, they might think something suspect is happening from what you're trading, where you're located. And at that point, they may ask you for KYC and say, hey, can you please provide some KYC? And then then you have to then contact them and send them over KYC. And if not, will return your funds. Third is one where they'll never do KYC, but if they find any kind of issues or fraud or any red flags, then they'll just simply return funds invisibly. Like you'll just get a transaction that you sent out some Bitcoin for whatever token, and the Bitcoin just comes right back to you. It's kind of the third level. And the fourth level, there's absolutely no KYC because it's a fully decentralized exchange. right? So it's going through smart contracts. And we do support that for Ethereum and tokens. You're not guaranteed to get that because they might not be the best price. They might not have any liquidity. But if you are able to go through the decentralized exchange, that's a fully zero KYC. You won't have any, and there's not a chance that your transaction will get blocked because of KYC purposes. So it does range the full gamut. Note that users in Edge can actually turn on and off different exchange partners inside of the app, and enable the ones that we don't specify which ones have different levels of KYC. That's a little hard to describe in the user interface. But heck, they're welcome to ask us, heck, also in this show and also on Twitter, ask us, hey, what are the different KYC policies of each of the partners? And they can disable the ones that they don't feel comfortable with.
That's awesome. I love that you have that functionality where people can really tailor their experience to what they want. They can select which, partners they would prefer to work with. And so and it's super easy in the app. Like, you just have to go and press a button. And I think that's what's great about Edge in general, is everything is easy.
Oh, well, thanks. We do our best. Obviously, it's not easy to make things easy, and I'm sure there's parts of the app that we could improve on, but that's where we want to hear feedback from the community.
So speaking of the community, I kind of wanted to touch on marketing a little bit, because I'm always curious how different crypto projects approach marketing. So you guys have a really strong, great community, especially on crypto Twitter. And so in terms of marketing, are you guys really kind of focusing more on organic growth through your online community, or are you guys actively doing marketing, or what does that kind of look like for you guys?
I think for the past couple of years since we launched Edge, a lot of it has been organic, with some efforts, and obviously efforts in your traditional things like content creation. We push out a blog almost once a week. We have our own podcast. We call it our live Q&A, where people can ask us questions live, and we answer questions that have come across the week, every Friday at noon Pacific. As well as some paid efforts, such as conference sponsorships, and we do show up to maybe at least one every couple of months. We'll show up to a conference once every couple of months. But a new initiative that is getting pushed through over the course of the next quarter or two is actually something that's unique in the self-custody wallet space. We hear about this a lot in the centralized exchange programs, but almost never in a self-custody wallet, which is an actual referral program. So working with ambassadors that could refer people to Edge, and also gain a share of the revenue that the application makes through exchange operations, buy, sell, and trade. Oh, wow. This was fairly unique. We only hear about this from, like you said, the Bitrixes and the Bitleys and the Coinbases of the world, but never from an app like Edge, where we actually don't see any of these transactions. We do it in a very private way as well. So this is actually the next phase of kind of our marketing strategy, is bringing in the community that potentially already enjoys using Edge and already recommends Edge, and really motivate them to push it to another level, and give them some referral programs. And there's one that's like the base level of this referral program. I personally have never liked pure affiliate programs that are just like, hey, put a link up and drive some traffic to a product, whether it's like an Amazon link or whatnot. But we plan to use this program to actually drive some really cool promotions. So a referral link, in most people's eyes, is just, hey, I get credit for new users that I drive to the app. But we actually are going to be making these referral links even change the behavior of the app itself when people use your link. Everything from making the app an automatically turn it into a wallet for specific crypto, being able to work with some influencers in different cryptocurrency circles, where they use their link and it's automatically a Monero wallet. Wow. By default, or automatically a Litecoin and Dogecoin wallet, and even be able to automatically give rewards back to a user if they register for a newsletter for one of the referral partners, or even be able to do discounted days where people can do exchanges into or out of a coin, or buy a coin, but if they use that link from one of our partners, where they get free swaps into a coin, or discounted fiat on-ramp through credit card, but only if they use those links. We want those links to actually be more active and engaged, and actually have some promos behind them that we can custom tailor to the different partners that we are kind of onboarding to do these promotions and do these referrals. So that's kind of the next phase that you'll see over the next couple of quarters, for us during 2020.
Oh, that's so fun. I love that. I love that you guys are really looking at not just, oh, let's do the standard affiliate link that everyone else does, but like, hey, let's
Yeah,
evaluate this. Like, how could we make this
exactly.
better?
Let's make it fun. Let's make it fun to actually use a referral link by our ambassador and say, hey, I want to use this because there's something cool for the user on this day, um, and and make it just above and beyond slapping a link on a page, which that does a lot too by itself. But let's engage it much more than that. So I think you'll see some cool ideas come out of that, and we've had some cool ideas from some ambassadors and referral partners that we're going to be launching over the next several months. So keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch as that kind of all unravels and comes out into the world. So,
Mhm.
Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to come on my channel and just chat more about Edge. I just love what you guys are doing over there, and I'm excited to continue watching everything that you guys are doing as you continue to, kind of develop and grow and evolve even more than you currently are. And so, before we go, is there anything else that we missed that you really want to talk about, or any kind of last words you'd like to leave the audience with?
Um, Not much that we didn't already talk about. We covered a ton, and so all I can ask of the audience is, for those that haven't already tried Edge, give it a try, and download Edge.app is our domain, pretty simple, and get some Bitcoin, get some other crypto, send or receive it to and from a friend around the world, and if anything, send us some feedback. You can contact us on Twitter, Facebook. All of our social media links are on our website. So want to hear from you guys. Just let us know. Send us some feedback. Much appreciated.
Awesome. Well, I will leave all of those links below. Definitely join the conversation with them on Twitter. They've got a great Twitter account, and actually download Edge, give it a try. It's a really, as we've talked about today, just really easy to use online or wallet app. And so, Paul, thank you again so much for coming on. It's been great to chat with you.
Thanks a whole bunch, Leah. Pleasure chatting as well.